This is an update video to the ForeFlight to Garmin conversion process video that I published back in 2021 on August 31st. People have been putting comments on the website with some struggles that they've been having and some questions, and so I wanted to address the concerns that people are having and answer some of the questions and reiterate some things that are maybe discussed in the video that I didn't emphasize enough in order to get a successful flight plan so that you can download it, convert it, and then import it into the Garmin system, in my case Garmin G1000. So let's talk about one of the problems that people are having. Everything, they get the program fine, they run the program, they create a flight plan, they run it through the conversion process, and then they go to upload it into the Garmin system that they have, and they find that they have a bunch of locked waypoints. Now this is almost always because of a mismatch between the ForeFlight database for all of the airstrips and the Garmin database. Now Garmin explained in an article I was reading the reason they don't have all of the airports that reside in the FAA database is because they want screen clutter to be to a minimum if someone happens to be flying through a busy area like Kansas City, Salt Lake City, wherever it happens to be. Most of the airports that don't reside in the Garmin database, that reside in ForeFlight, are restricted airports or private airports. So here's an example. I'm going to zoom in here. Let me turn off the CAP grid. There. So you see these airports here. There's S-Bar Ranch, Tracy Ranch. They all have an R. And there's also a PVT here. These most likely will not reside in the Garmin database. So if somehow you're able to get these airports into your ForeFlight flight plan, Garmin's not going to know anything about them. And so that waypoint that it's going to try to go to is going to be locked because they can't find it in its database. Now here's the trick that I talked about, and maybe I didn't emphasize. If I wanted to put together a flight plan where I flew to, let's say, Tracy Ranch here, and I press my finger on here and I create a little waypoint circle like this, this panel slides over here, okay? Now, there's an actual location up here, which is a lat long, that matches the spot that you touched on the map. It tells you some things about the airspace it's in. It has some places nearby that maybe you meant to select. Always select this top lat long. And what my program will do then is it will create a user waypoint. And it'll get you to that spot. It just won't be called Tracy Ranch in the flight plan in the Garmin. Okay, so let's go in here and let's remove that spot here just to get that out of there. Let's see, I want to get rid of that here. Let's just delete that out that way. Okay, sorry about the distraction. So the other thing is, let's say you're flying a search and rescue mission. Let's say you just want to go to a reservoir someplace and look at a dam. If you were to select this, again, you get this side panel that comes out. See up here, you see the lat long. But also notice down here, you think, wow, okay, so it knows about the Anderson Dam, because this happens to be the Anderson Reservoir, and I selected the dam, and what do you know? It knows about the Anderson Dam. It is so tempting to select this as the waypoint. Don't do it, because Garmin doesn't know anything about the Anderson Dam. It'll be entered in that way. Garmin will reject it, and they'll lock that waypoint. Always select the top option up here, which is a location, and it's the lat long. And again, you select that, and it'll enter a user waypoint at that spot there. So that's the explanation for why sometimes waypoints in your flight plan don't show up, and they show up as locked. Okay. So now the other thing is that people have been talking about is or asking, can I create a waypoint that allows me to fly a grid search in Civil Air Patrol? So let me turn the cap grids back on. So I've got here Salt Lake 115, that's this entire grid here, and I want to fly a parallel track search within Bravo. You can create a waypoint, and you can create a procedure. That's one of the options in the waypoint over here in the procedure. You can create a procedure, and you can go to the type of approach that you want. Let's say search and rescue is what we're going to use here. And right now I've got parallel selected. Here are all the options that you have for flying a search pattern. Creeping line, expanding square, for instance, gives you all these options to tweak that expanding square as far as right turns versus left turns, spacing, the initial turn, if it's 180 degrees, 360, whatever, the starting point where it's at. You got all these options here to add this to the flight plan. And now I did that here, and this will upload properly, and if you've got a plane with an autopilot, it will take off out of Idaho Falls here. You turn on the autopilot with this flight plan entered, and it will fly to this initial point. And what we do in CAP is we identify the four corners of the area we're searching, and then it'll start searching this grid with the spacing and direction that I programmed into that customizable page for the search pattern. So that's the other thing. Now, these are all user waypoints. Notice that they all have lat longs. So Garmin doesn't care. It's going to create user databases. Now, one of the error messages you might see when you upload something like this into your Garmin is it's going to come up and it's going to say some waypoints were not loaded, something along those lines. And if you pay attention closely to the wording, what you'll find out is that because the beginning location for creating user waypoints has a naming convention that starts at a certain number, there may be already a user waypoint that somebody entered into the database in the Garmin G1000 that matches that same name that is in this flight plan here. What it's going to do is it's going to write over that user waypoint, and it's going to put these here that you've entered into the Garmin database, and it's going to write over the old ones. And that's what it means when it says that they were some weren't successfully uploaded, because the name of that waypoint already existed, but it changed the coordinates and uploaded that information anyway. So it's kind of a false warning, but it is something to pay attention to. Now, The other thing is, I'm going to switch my camera now, and now let me address the problem people have been having downloading the program. So here's my computer screen. I apologize for the movement here. I'm holding the camera in my hand. There's a link here. It goes to my Dropbox. This is for the Windows version. And then there's another link right down here, which is the Mac OS and Linux version. Both of these are going to do kind of the same thing if you click on them. I recommend if you're got a Windows machine, use the Windows version. The drag and drop feature is so much easier to use than bringing up a terminal window, changing directory, going to the right place, typing the command, all of that stuff. Unfortunately, Linux and Mac OS don't have a drag and drop option to be able to get these to run. So anyways, if you click on this link, what you're going to see is you're going to see this message come up, something like this. And it probably depends on what kind of security you have turned on in your browser, what kind of security you have turned on or installed in your Windows machine. But when this comes up, click on Go to Site. Now you'll see something like this comes up, okay? So it's gone to the Dropbox site. It saw the file that you're trying to download here, and it's going to give you a bunch of messages. It can't be previewed and so on. I found that this download button doesn't always work depending on the browser you have. Up here, there's another download box. Click on that. Then you get your standard dialog here to save the file, and click on save, and you'll notice down here there's the file that we just saved here. And now I've got a basic FPL file here that I'm going to show you how to run this. Get this window out of the way. So basically, once you have, it doesn't matter where this resides, if you have these two files, which is your FPL and your executable, in the same location, this is the best way to do this. Simply left click and hold the left click or the left button down on your mouse, drag it over, put it over top of the executable. Now you're going to see something like this, maybe, depending on, again, what kind of security levels you have turned on your Windows machine. See this little link right here, More Info. Click on that More Info. It says, here's the app you're trying to run. The publisher is unknown, but you get now the option to run anyway. So click on Run Anyway, and you're going to see up here, in my case is where it put it, a file with the same exact name as the file you dragged over top of the executable, except it's got a G in front of it with a dash. This file is the file that is the one converted to import into the Garmin. So it's a simple drag and drop. The downloading portion is what's been confusing a lot of people, because they get all these security screens that come up with different options. I don't know how to get around that. Everybody has different levels of security on their systems. They're running different versions of Windows, so on and so forth. So I hope this explanation on how to create the flight plans using user waypoints instead of the identifiers that are available in ForeFlight, and how to download using the link that's provided in the video.